He did mention something about that.
Good evening and welcome to the Municipality of Monroeville's Citizens Night meeting for Thursday, June 6th, 2019. In a moment, we're going to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to remind everybody today is the 75th anniversary of the invasion of Normandy, so let's please keep that in our minds during the pledge. So if you'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. All of council is in attendance other than Mr. Poach and Mr. Aracinko. We are going to open up the meeting with our citizens tonight, our citizens' remarks and comments. If you would like to address council and you are signed in, now would be your time to address council. As we do with every meeting, we ask to keep your comments to a 5-minute time limit. That's an effort to try to keep the meeting moving along smoothly. So if anyone is signed in, now would be your time to address council. And if you haven't signed in yet, you will have an opportunity to do so before we adjourn the meeting.
Good evening, Georgiana Woodhall. I pulled the minutes for March and April when I attended Citizens Night and council meeting in reference to a drainage issue on my property. And I wanted to know if any decision was made as to whether or not you were going to send somebody to my property to take a look at the damage. I know Mr. Little, we discussed that, and then Mr. Ratcher suggested not sending anybody because he had been waiting for legal opinion, and I want to know if that was received and if it was determined as to whose responsibility it is to fix those inlets. We discussed went back to the state law of 1945, State Highway Act of 1945, and I submitted the information from PennDOT, the 30 pages of their drainage system, and I wanted to know if what decision was made.
Any updates, Mr. Little?
Georgiana, my understanding is your problem was fixed.
Okay, well, the problem is fixed, but the damage from the problem that was not fixed for a year still remains, and I need to know where to go with that. I can show you a quick picture of the amount of water that, if you could just show that.
Who fixed it, Georgiana? Who fixed it?
PennDOT.
Okay.
Joe, if you could put the camera on the...
Okay, this is the amount of water that for 1 year, and you can imagine all the rain that we've gotten over the last year went into that broken inlet and created a massive sinkhole. Massive, not
That's
sinkhole,
on
massive
130.
hole. Pardon me?
Yes.
That's on 130.
If you could
Yeah,
move
it is
the
on
picture
130.
closer to
Okay,
you a
right.
little bit.
Okay, where do
Oh,
you
I
want
see
me
what
to
you're
put
saying.
it?
No, I just want to see,
This
make
is
sure we're
just a
capturing the whole
picture.
picture.
You can't really see the length of the hole there because, I mean, it doesn't look that big from there, but it
Where's
is much
that?
bigger underground.
Where's that?
See where these boards are here? There, and then went in the direction of my
Is
house.
that on your property?
What?
The sinkhole.
Not the sink, it's not actually a sinkhole. It is actually, part of it is in the right-of-way, and the rest of it that it created is on the property. The damage that it caused was the sidewalk to sink. You can see it better here. The gas line is right under here where the sidewalks, all the dirt washed out down the hill and actually caused this planter to shift about 3 inches or more, could be more than 3 inches, and the other planter to crack and shift as well.
Is this all on the border of 130, the state road?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And PennDOT, the state, did repair the catch
They
basin?
did repair it, but I want to know whose responsibility it was, because that was the question here. Mr. Ratcher was waiting for an opinion, because in that drainage information that I gave you, it specifically talks about the responsibility of municipalities, which would make Monroeville the responsible party here. And the fact that PennDOT fixed it, I was told that the state highway law in 1945, and what was indicated in that document was the law in 1945, and is the law today. And that is what makes the municipality responsible. So I want to know,
Can I ask
where
a
do I go
question
with this?
on that?
Mr. Duncan, go ahead.
If PennDOT took responsibility to fix it, why wouldn't they take responsibility to also refurbish your property?
Well, if you read that information that I submitted, and I know you said that it was going to be reviewed, that it would take some time, so I gave it a couple months. That's why I'm here tonight, to find out exactly, are you responsible? According to that, you would be.
Whenever they repaired the actual catch basin, did they give you any kind of notification or paperwork or anything, or did they discuss
They
that
gave
with
me
you?
a paper to sign.
What
What
should
did
it
you
be?
sign?
Pardon me?
What did you sign?
So they could do the work.
Did you sign
But
a
I thought the work
release?
was on their
Pardon
property.
me?
Did you sign a release?
It was a one-sheet paper. It just so they could fix the work.
Here's where I think the problem is. Did you allow them easement on your property to fix whatever the issue was?
I signed a paper that they could fix. They didn't
Did
bring
you
their
show a
truck.
copy to that paper to possibly?
I don't have it here. I don't have
Yeah,
it.
I mean, wouldn't we need to see that copy to see what she signed off on before you could even answer that question?
I would think,
Well, I think the only thing they fixed was on the roadway, if I'm.
Why would they have her sign something if,
if they were just.
I don't know what it was.
That
I
doesn't
mean,
make
yeah, I don't know
sense
what
to
it
me.
was.
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure it was some type of waiver because they have to come onto the property. They had to put their vehicles
so
on
they're
the
supposed
property.
to, they're supposed to fix any damage that they do coming onto your property. Is that correct?
Not sure with it, how it was worded,
Yeah,
honestly. But anyway,
I don't know.
I just need to know where to go with this. I mean, if it's, you indicated you were going to send somebody down, and Mike Adams was on my property from.
But that was before the state fixed it, though.
Yes, it was before the state fixed it.
But it's,
Which I
so,
think that kind of took us out of the mix.
yeah, up to this point, we thought it was fixed, which it was. But you're saying there was.
It was fixed, but the damage that occurred because it wasn't fixed for a year is still there. I mean, that needs to be fixed by somebody. I mean, I didn't cause it. You
But
know,
the state-
the reason, I mean, for 1 year, the municipality, Mr. Little and I had many conversations, for 1 year, back and forth to determine who was responsible to fix it. And then I never heard anything back as to who was responsible. I mean, PennDOT did show up because it was a safety issue, huge safety issue, and had to be fixed.
So I still think, unfortunately, I think we still need to gather more information about this most recent
Well, the
fix.
thing she signed, first of all.
Well, first,
Absolutely.
well, you could get a copy of that from PennDOT. I don't have a copy of it. I asked them to mail me a copy of it, and I haven't received that yet.
Can you try and get a hold of them again and ask them for it? I think it could play a big part.
Well, I mean, I can, yeah,
Well, I think it's important that we would have that.
right. But what it was explained
they
to me,
fixed
what
it,
was
I would think
explained to
they're
me
accepting
is that that was so
responsibility.
they could come onto the property, bring their trucks and what they needed to do the work.
So they're accepting liability for the.
Well, I don't know that they're, I'm
That's
not
what I'm
sure
saying. I'm on your side. I understand what you're going through. But if PennDOT took the responsibility to fix their issue.
Yeah.
And there was damage caused by that.
Then they
Well, the
should.
damage
I
wasn't caused
personally-
by them coming onto my property
No, no,
and
but
fixing
by
it.
their-
the flooding
their-
issue, the flooding issue.
Right.
The
The
occurring.
damage that
Well,
was done due
what
to.
what I would ask you to do is what I asked several months ago when I dropped the information off, was to look at that PennDOT drainage information. I'm sure that Mr. Ratcher, I mean, I'm no attorney, but looking at it and reading it, to me, puts you, you know, as being responsible to fix certain things, and that would have been one of them. So, I mean, if you're not responsible, I'm just going to ask that you have Mr. Ratcher send me a letter saying that you're not responsible so that I can have that. You know, and then even take it a step further. If You're not responsible. Who you believe is responsible. I gave you a copy of that, of a letter that the municipality provided when this occurred in 1988. So you have a copy of that, of how the municipality responded back then.
Well, if we can maybe get the paperwork that you signed off on, and like I said, I mean, this council thought
That
that
just
it was
allowed, I
already-
mean, I know what it was. It was
Right, but
allow them to
this
go on.
council already just, we were told that it was already fixed. We didn't really.
It was fixed, but
Yes,
the damage, because it
that's a
wasn't
new-
fixed
that-
for a
but
year.
That's new information to us, is what I'm saying. So.
Well, what is new information?
At this point, we thought everything was fixed down there.
No, because Michael Adams from Public Works came on my property January of 23rd of 2018. Last summer came with Mr. Markosik and Mike Adams from PennDOT. And we had a meeting right there in that area. So, this is not new.
What was the
Right.
result of that, if I may ask? Of
Well-
your meeting with them down on your property?
What was the result?
Yeah, what was their opinion?
Well, they didn't actually give me an opinion.
Oh.
They knew it was a problem. They were trying to even decide who was going to fix what at that point. So,
But to your question, though, I think what we can do is we
if you're
determine a
not
stance, and we
responsible-
can determine a stance, and then if we have an opinion about who's responsible or not, we can
and
provide
just-
that to you.
Just send me
Yeah,
a letter.
That's fair.
That's all. Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
You can sign in, sir.
I've already done so. My name is Robert Serafini. I'm a resident of Monroeville. First of all, I want to say, I don't know if anybody told me until tonight, but Mike Adams has done a hell of a job for the municipality, and I wanted to say thank you and a happy retirement to him. Second of all, I want to commend Chief Doug Cole and his police for the April and May shooting up here at the mall, because they've done a hell of a job on that one, too. Third, I'd like to congratulate the fire and the EMS for that television thing they did with the catastrophe last week. That was a hell of a thing at the hospital. Those are the three things I want to say. Thank you to everybody who was involved. Now, I want to talk about Ordinance B on page 2, the Bel Air swimming pool. Last month when I was here, I talked about it. I have a couple questions. Can someone tell me who approached who as far as selling the pool? Did we approach them, the Turnpike Commission, to buy the pool, or did they contact us to sell
They
the pool?
contacted us, Bob, in May of 2018.
May. And was there any talk about condemnation of any of the property?
Well, it's stated in their letter, I mean, not saying that they're threatening to condemn the property.
Well, that was a sort of like an thing that they, in fact, there was talk about, it's even in the thing here tonight, about condemnation. But what's the scoop on that? Are they going to use that property?
To widen the turnpike, correct?
I mean, is that close enough to the turnpike?
Oh, yeah.
It's right beside it.
Okay, now, I brought it up last month. The money that you're going to sell the property for, which is, I think it was $900,000, which is close to $1 million, which I'll say, what are you going to do with that money? Are you going to put another pool in Monroeville?
You're going to have to ask council,
That's what I'm doing right here.
policy decision.
Yeah, the expenditure of that money, first off, we haven't even signed the contract yet. That would be voted on Tuesday.
I read that, here.
Correct, but the finances or what the money would be used for, that'd be determined at a later date, and that'd be something that'd be done publicly.
Because every time we get newfound money, it always goes for a project rather than something that the municipality can use that we've had. In other words, we talked about it last month. Steve Duncan mentioned the fact that they wanted to initially put one in the park. I think that would be a hell of a good idea. And I think Steve mentioned that, stating that's what they initially wanted to do. I think that's what ought to be done with the money before you even think about using some other project. And
That's not enough money for a pool.
Well, I asked
it'd be-
that we get a quote, a estimate out there. Just have somebody come and say, what would it cost to install a pool?
Yeah, well, we certainly have
And we
to,
could tell the residents, hey, it's $5 million, or it's $400,000. I mean, I have no clue.
all I'm stating is, rather than put that money which is a nice chunk of money, $1 million, into something else. I think we ought to allocate that without even thinking about any other projects for it, right into something for the kids in Monroeville. And that's why I stand on that.
Okay.
So can we get an estimate?
I don't think we can do anything until
Mr.
the
Little?
deal is done.
No, but I meant just to have somebody, a contractor, come out and say, hey, it would cost X amount of dollars.
Yeah, and the Recreation Department's been working on a couple different
Yeah.
things for the community park, maybe not necessarily a pool, but some other features.
There
up
would be
but-
no cost to us to get that
Correct.
estimate.
But what,
That's all I'm saying.
so- well, I guess my question, let me ask a question. If this gets approved by council and it all goes through and money is received, where, does the money go into a separate line item, Mr. Little?
No, I would, I've advocated to council that it goes into a separate fund, so it gets appropriated accordingly on what council deems they want to do with the money.
So then that way, if it's in a separate fund,
Correct.
then it would all be public as far as if there was a budget transfer from that fund.
Exactly.
Or if there was a specific project for that fund, or if it was divvied up. I think that maybe that's the way that we could have more public discussion on the expenditure of that money.
So in other words, right now, it's not allocated to some other project.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
We don't even know we're getting it.
Come on, Ron.
No, but to your point, yes, I think you brought up a good point. The money has not been allocated to anything at this point whatsoever. And that would be discussed publicly.
Okay, well, I'm going to stay on top of this.
No, we appreciate
Like
it.
I said, because I do want the pool for the kids in this neighborhood. Like I said, I live in this neighborhood. I think it's a good neighborhood, or I'd have been out a long time ago. But, take care of that.
You do realize there's a lot of community pools around, though, too, in the neighborhoods that are suffering financially, that they could also see a turn-up of people coming to their pools and might help them out as well.
I talked to Josie tonight just before the meeting and asked her if there was any funding problem with that one. And she said it was on a pretty solid basis. So I don't think we were in debt. I don't think that it was making any money, but I thought it was pretty good. Now,
Oh, no,
like-
the current pool, yeah, it
Yes.
kind of runs pretty even.
Yes.
But the people that are going there now, if they disperse into all the neighborhood pools, it would help all those neighborhood pools out, because they are hurting. All the neighborhood pools are hurting. How many are there, Mr. Little? Six?
I believe there's 3 left, Gateway, Garden
University Park,
City, and
Garden City.
University Park.
There's one out at Haymaker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Haymaker,
No,
City.
that's Fox.
no, there's Gateway Heights,
Gateway Heights.
Haymaker, Garden City,
Garden City.
Oh, I
and
missed one. Okay.
Park, in
And
University
Park.
Park. So there's
Yeah,
four.
there's 4 other
Four.
pools that.
Four
and
neighbor,
they
but they're
have-
private, they're private neighborhood pools, though.
Yes.
They're not municipal pools.
That's what I'm allocating too.
Right.
Well, then maybe they can open their doors up to the rest of the residents.
Private is private.
Well,
But what I'd suggest is, what I mentioned earlier, is that this is something we can discuss at a later time as
Yeah.
far as that funding, and I think if council agrees to that, putting that money in a separate fund.
Absolutely.
Then we can discuss and just put these different ideas on the table and spend it the best way.
Okay, and like I said, Steve, keep on them.
Well, can we task the manager to get an estimate?
If that's what council wishes.
Thanks, Steve.
You're gonna have specifications to get an estimate.
yeah.
Oh, that's true.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
who's
I
gonna
mean,
spec
what I
it?
would do is the same size pool as Bel Air.
Yeah, I mean, roughly, just get an
Yeah, meet with
estimate
the
that-
recreation department,
Take it
meet
out
with the
to the
recreation
public,
department,
so it
maybe even
doesn't
the-
look like we're trying to hide something, just get an estimate.
And this would also be a discussion for the
You could give us
Recreation
the
and Parks
dimensions.
Advisory Board as well.
Absolutely.
If anyone else would like to address council for any municipal item, now would be your time to do it.
Well, thank you.
So if you just sign in and state your name for the record, and that you are a Monroeville resident.
Sure. My name is Terry Tagg. I live at 138 Heather Drive, and I just have some questions about the zoning change in the piece of land off Old William Penn Highway. Just a couple questions. At some point in time, is this developer going to come in and ask for tax abatements? Has that been discussed? Okay.
I'm not familiar on the property that you're mentioning.
It's
sorry.
behind the beauty salon on Old William Penn driveway. It's the one that you're doing the 7.7 acre zoning change on?
It's on your agenda for
On the
tonight, but it
agenda?
was tabled.
Is that going to be tabled?
Yeah, it was tabled.
That's
It's
going
going
to
to be tabled. They haven't asked for any tax abatement or anything like that, Mr.
And
McKay.
just one other question. Do you know if any of the tenants that are going to be there are going to be subsidized by HUD or any other government agency?
Absolutely not.
It's not going to be any HUD, it's going to be just like,
Yes.
and then the discussion on, because I've worked with a lot of developers, and I haven't seen a development in a long time that hasn't asked for tax abatements.
Well, these guys have already come through here twice, and they haven't asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Okay.
put a couple presentations for
Yeah.
us, and
Okay.
they're a reputable company,
Yeah.
but
Well, they're going to be here
They're going to
Wednesday.
be here in July.
I mean, next Tuesday.
Next month, they're.
No, Tom,
Oh,
next
that's
month.
right, yeah.
If you want to come back next month,
Okay,
when
so
they're
this
here,
is
you can
tabled
do,
till
yeah,
next
it's
month.
tabled
Okay.
till next
Yeah.
month.
yeah, so we will not be voting on it on Tuesday.
Right.
The
Yes.
applicant has requested tabling.
Okay.
We won't be acting on that tonight. We'll be acting that on Tuesday, but it'll be tabled on Tuesday, will not be voted on.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Thank you. We'll keep the floor open for anyone who'd like to address council. You can just sign in, please,
Sure.
and state your name for the record.
Madeline Havrilla, 772 Thomas Street in Monroeville. Thanks. I have one question and then one observation I'd like to make. Do you need my phone number? Okay. There's some kind of a, what do you call it? Not a tube, but they're drilling, they're bringing something out from the, I think it's methane, from the
Landfill.
landfill. Have you looked into that, what it is?
What they're bringing out?
Yeah.
No, I haven't looked into it.
Okay. Just curious if anyone can explain that to us.
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, because we do
Please.
inspections of the
Yeah, I mean,
landfill.
my husband stopped and talked to them, but I just wanted to get your opinion on
No, there's a transmission line being put in
Yes, it
from
is.
the waste management across Thomas Street, down Washington, down Woodlawn, across
Is this what's
Patton
causing the
Street,
cemetery?
through the cemetery and into Turtle
Yeah.
Creek.
Okay, into Turtle Creek?
Yes.
Thanks. The other thing I wanted to point out to you, it is the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and I certainly, my father was a serviceman, and I certainly honor all those who serve. It's also the 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote, of the passing of the 19th Amendment.
Oh, nice.
So, they happen to fall on the same day, and I wanted to point that out to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, anything else, anyone else would like to address council? Now would be your time to do it on any municipal item.
I have more.
Take your time,
to
and
be
you can
official
just
here
sign
first.
in, and you can, whenever you're ready, just state your name for the record.
Hi, my name's Diane Etchegary, and I do live here in Monroeville. And I was addressing or wondering where this piece of property is on this for the A&R developers. That third parcel that you're talking about, where is that anyway? I can't figure out where it is, because initially there were two parcels, which is in that field directly below us. Now, where did this other one
Behind
pop up?
Party Savvy on Old William Penn.
Behind where?
Party Savvy.
Okay. That's totally disconnected from the other part.
I'd have to, I don't know how the.
Because
park-
it says Garden City, I can't figure out where the Garden City part fits in on that.
It's
Greenleaf, I believe, coming down.
Dave, what's
Dave Palmer.
Dave Palmieri's property.
Oh,
It
up
sits back up
across the
in.
bridge and up that way,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay. What could they do with that?
They want to build a similar apartments as they are
Is
across
it big
from
enough
your
up in
house.
there?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Okay, thank you, that's what I was wondering about.
If anyone else would like to address council? You just sign in and state your name for the record and that you are a Monroeville resident.
My name is Brody Bernardi. I am a Monroeville resident. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be speaking here or if there's a secondary agenda meeting, but
Nope, now's your time.
Okay.
So, yeah, and just so you know, I mean, this is a moment to speak about any municipal item.
okay.
When we get to Tuesday's meeting, there's a discussion time period for things that are on the agenda.
Okay.
And then also at the end of that meeting, you would have another opportunity to speak about any municipal items. So you have a couple chances, but now for tonight, this would be the right time.
Okay. So I guess with my 5 minutes, I'll give you a little introduction to who I am. I've lived here my whole life. I'm about 48 years old. And when I got out of college, I worked at a swimming pool heat pump manufacturer in Latrobe. Part of that job for those 20 years was when Cranberry Township built their water park and outdoor pool. They bought those heaters from us, and so I was intimately aware of the way that they built it, things that they would have done differently, things they would have done better, and I watched as they went through phase 2 where they analyzed their income. Not sure if you know, but that facility is self-sustaining. All the money made from that facility stays in that facility, and part of the agreement when Cranberry built it was if it can sustain itself, you can have at it. At this point, they've completely refurbished it, added onto it, put a splash zone, a sand park, installed a whole new set of heaters and an entire new filtration system. So it is working well for them. During that time, I had 2 girls, and they began swimming when they were about 4 years old at Bel Air. And in the 12 years since, I went from just being a swim dad to helping out with meets up into including completely organizing the team on a year-to-year basis. That includes interactions with the Parks Department, letting them know when we have meets, home meets, so they can reserve the pool for us. Arranging for the banquet, the team gift for the swimmers, registration, payments. We weren't a formal board, and in other words, we didn't have elections. Since the pool is maintained by Monroeville, all our responsibility was to hire a coach and make sure the season was planned out. All during that whole time, they even asked me to be the representative to the ESA League, which is the summer league that all the local pools in Monroeville and Murraysville, and there was 15 teams, and they all I eventually became president of that league up until just a few months ago when I stepped down. In addition to Bel Air, I've also become president of Monroeville's other swim team, the Monroeville Marlins, which began primarily as a winter team and is now a year-round team. In the winter, we swim up at Gateway, and in the summer, we find whatever pool we can. Gateway would let us use it from year to year, and then they close. I believe they closed because of maintenance reasons, allocating resources to opening the pool and closing the pool for us. So we've been swimming at Haymaker, and this season we're going to swim at the wave pool. But part of planning for that has resulted, the wave pool had to close for a week. They had a filter problem or a valve problem. So we're swimming at Haymaker until the pool reopens. All of this is to say that I'm aware and have been thinking about a long time since the park was built and the space was allocated for a new municipal pool. And then from what I understood, the housing crash sort of ate up some of the municipal funds in order to build that water park that they were going to build. And even ever since then, I've been thinking about it. And contacts I've made through Cranberry Township and through, it's called Triangle Aquatics down in North Carolina. They have an Olympic athlete who is their one of their board members, but he also came up with a timing system for summer teams that you just use your phone to time instead of stopwatches and paper. And so getting to know him and getting to know the pool that they built and seeing Cranberries, a lot of ideas have been spinning around in my head of what to do. And so this is what they have down in South Carolina. This is, it looks big, I guess, in the picture. Is it upside down?
Yeah, just flip it around for us. Joe, if you could zoom in a little bit.
This isn't really any bigger. By looking at Google Maps and taking the scale and looking at our park area, it's about the same size as the land between tall trees and the basketball courts. That is an outdoor pool, a 50-meter by 25-yard pool. They intend to only use it for practices because they're indoor. There's 3 pools on the inside. One's competition, one is for, it's heated more, it's for therapy. Arthritis patients use it. They have other things that indoor pools a therapist would use. And then
Inside that building?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's an aquatics facility.
Yeah, it's
only,
called
right?
Triangle Aquatic Center. This is a view of it from the outside. It looks more like the Borough Building.
Yeah.
That's more of an aerial view of it.
Definitely watermelon.
Yeah, like 3, 4, 5.
And this is what the indoor pool looks like during a competition. It's the same 50-meter by 25-yard pool as they have. They're adding to the outside. They've already outgrown their indoor facility, and they're adding that outdoor pool. The only thing that is missing from this is the public side of it, because this is a private company. They're having they're trying to make it more public, and what my proposal would be to take the money from the sale of the land and invest it into a facility like this, that the outdoor pool could be open to the public in the summer. The indoor pool would be run by a nonprofit in sort of a public-private relationship. $900,000 isn't enough to build this facility, but we have a lot of big companies in town, and finding a sponsor to help build this facility, I don't think would be hard, but I haven't gone out to start yet.
Well, Brett, I think definitely some creative ideas, and we appreciate, you bringing this to us. But why don't, I know you and I have tried to connect on email, via email, so let's schedule that meeting we were trying to connect with, and then may you and I, Mr. Little, and even our recreation department, we could set up a meeting, and kind of go through some of these things a little bit more,
Sure.
and then we can report back to council. I think that'd be fair.
The only other thing I wanted to say about Bel Air closing, and I understand it's probably a done deal. They're going to take the land whether they buy it from us or they take it. And I think that Monroeville would be wise to take the money if chosen, because I believe Plum-Aqua was offered money and they declined it, thinking they would be able to keep it, and they took it with eminent domain. So they even offered, I think, to build Plum-Aqua a pool, and that fell through. The reason I would like Monroeville to build another pool is that the private pools, and I'm also a member of Haymaker. We have 5 kids, so we swim all the time. Since I was with a pool heater manufacturer, they asked me to go down and work on their pumps and filters, and I'm aware of the age of all of the pools in Monroeville and the fact that they are probably one big break from closing any one of them. Look at Foxwood, look at what was the pool across, not far from it, not long ago? Eastmont.
Yeah.
That used to be a league of 15. It's now down to 11, 12. It's soon to be 11. Highlands closed, Plum-Aqua closed. These pools have aged so much that they put in as much money as they can bring in. On top of that, Monroeville was a public pool, and it was the people going there weren't really. I'm sure a few would join those local pools, but not nearly enough to raise their attendance and memberships to continue to pay for those pools that are aging. I know Park had a crack a few years ago that almost bankrupted them. Keeping a public pool where if a kid can come up with $5 for the day or whatever to come up and swim, I think is important. And we used to have a pretty strong legacy of swimming in Monroeville, All-Americans, Olympic trials athletes, swimmers, and I think I'd like that to come back again, and I see this as a way to do that.
Well, I appreciate your input, and like I said, we'll meet up and we'll set up a time for you and I to meet with Mr. Little and the Recreation Department, and we'll discuss this further, and then we can bring it back to council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I'm going to leave the floor open for anyone who'd like to address council. Seeing none, we're going to close that portion of the meeting, and we're going to move over to our proposed agenda. I have an executive session announcement that council conducted an executive session for personnel and litigation reasons prior to tonight's Citizens Night, beginning at 6:30 PM until 7 PM, council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at the June 11th, 2019 council meeting. Council, we're going to be looking at the minutes of Citizens Night of May 9th, 2019, the council work session of May 9th, 2019, and the regular council meeting of May 14th, 2019. Does anyone have any questions or additions or corrections?
No, sir.
Seeing none. Reports of the tax collections. You've been furnished with a copy of this. Anyone have any questions or comments? Seeing none, moving on. List of bills and budget transfers. Mrs. Gatos, do you have any questions this evening?
No, I've already got my answers,
Very
thank
good.
you.
Mr. Harvey?
No, I'm going to call Mr. Little more, excuse me, on a couple of them, but as of right now, I have nothing.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Johns?
No, sir.
Mr. Duncan?
I have nothing.
Mr. Wilson? Thank you. And payroll report, council, is there any additions, corrections, anything you want to talk about?
Not this time.
Very good.
Nothing.
And we're going to move over to our consent agenda of new business, 19-1-Z, AR Building Company Incorporated. And once again, the applicant has requested tabling. That's true?
That is true. We have a letter here dated June 6, 2019, from Mr. Finnegan requesting that the matter be tabled until the meeting's next month, and we can make it a part of the record.
Very good, thank you. And that's a public hearing item as well. So we will not be discussing that at tonight or on Tuesday either. Moving over to our ordinances, we have one ordinance for this evening. Mr. Ratcher, please.
An ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville authorizing the municipality to enter into an agreement to sell 10.42 acres of municipal property known as the Bel Air Swimming Pool to the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission in lieu of condemnation for the purpose of widening the Pennsylvania Turnpike in Monroeville. And this is the matter that's been under discussion. There's a sample of the sale agreement that was drafted by the Turnpike Commission that I have reviewed. And there's also, several pages. It's in the back of your packet.
Council, any questions or comments? And I would just like to reiterate what we mentioned earlier about this is different than the expenditure of the money. That sounds like there's maybe some ideas on the table. I think everybody has some different ideas, but I think what's reasonable is if this does get approved, the next step would be talking about or discussing the expenditure of that potential sale, the money from the sale. We could be discussed at a later time, but this would not be determined at our Tuesday meeting. The only thing that would be determined at the Tuesday meeting would be if we decide to enter into the agreement to actually sell them.
Could that money, could we add into Tuesday's agreement to put that money in a separate account?
That should probably be under separate action
Yeah,
that
that
you
would
take,
be
Steve,
separate.
as opposed to.
Would that be a resolution or an ordinance?
I think you could do, a resolution, I think, would
I think
be
resolution
fine,
does it,
as far as putting.
I mean,
it
that's
into a
what we
separate fund.
discussed.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
Sure.
So-
Until we find out what we want to do with the money.
Sure.
Whether it goes into infrastructure, parks, or wherever.
So if we can get a resolution drafted for Tuesday stating such, would that be possible?
Well, we're not going to close on the property until after the poll closes, so that, I can put a resolution together.
So it doesn't have to be done on Tuesday?
No, it doesn't have to
Okay.
be done.
But no, to your point, though,
But we're okaying the sell Tuesday, so you wouldn't want to put that in the same.
No, you're not going to close on the property until you have 90 days from the date the polls, from September the 2nd is
Okay.
the actual date. So you have until November to close on the property.
All right.
And,
That's fine.
and we probably won't get if I will get you 10, you probably won't get the money until December, if then.
Yeah, I'll be out of council then.
anything else, Mr. Duncan?
No, that's all.
Council, anything else on this matter? Very good. Moving over to our reports of our municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher, if you could keep the floor there.
Yes, I have one item. There is a request from People's Gas Company for an easement along Route 22 near the Cochran property. I'm going to defer to Mr. Yugas here because I'm running out of real estate on describing it. So, Paul?
As part of the Route 22 improvement project with PennDOT, there's a natural gas line that runs underneath of Route 22 in the vicinity of what we would know as the Little John Eagle on lower 22. There across the street on 22, at the end of the Cochran Auto Park, the municipality actually owns lands. I'm not quite sure how that happened. It happened with part of the Cochran development, but there's some property that the municipality owns. People's Gas needs to replace that gas line as part of their project. Well, the property we own, they would like to put a test pit in, or a drill pit in to put their new natural gas line across 22, because they have to bore underneath the 22. It's a directional bore. So they're looking for the municipality's permission to do that work on our property.
This wouldn't shut down 22, right?
No,
It's
that's why
underneath.
they're boring underneath the
Okay.
roadway. Correct.
So I think what council would need to authorize is an advertisement for an ordinance to grant that right to People's Gas, because any interest in property has to be done via ordinance. And obviously, we have not advertised it yet, so.
This was a late request to the municipality.
When do they want to do the work?
Last week,
Of course.
Council, any issues with?
I don't see a problem. We just got to do it.
Yeah, we just need to move it along.
right, we just need to get the ordinance in place to give.
Yeah,
it-
we-
Can we have that done for Tuesday then, so that we can vote on it?
Well, we
Is
have
that
to
what you're asking?
Just, yeah.
Oh, you got to advertise.
But I think what needs
Not
to
till, like,
happen here
next
is
month.
that you need to make a decision relative to granting them that permission, and then you would be ratifying essentially the directive that you gave at a later date.
Okay,
That's the only way it's going to happen,
in a timely
like
fashion.
post haste,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Need to
Okay.
let them do it, that's for sure.
Well,
Sure.
I'm okay.
Anything else, Council, any problems with that, moving forward on that?
No.
Very good. Mr. Rouch, you have
That's
anything
all
else
I
this
have,
evening?
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Little?
Yeah, just a couple of items here. The July Citizens Night and Council Work Session will be Tuesday, July 2nd at 7 PM, where it would ordinarily be that Thursday, which is July 4th. That's the first announcement. The second one is Duquesne Light. They're going to be trimming some trees in various areas around Monroeville. And I gave council what Duquesne Light has given to us. And they're going to be mostly in the, all of it's going to be in the Haymaker, Saunders Station, Route 48, and Abers Creek area. And they're going to be trimming some trees, and I know we've had some controversy about this in the past. I just think the public should know about it, that they are going to be trimming. When they're going to start, I don't know, but they come into the office. I was out of the office, and they left the information that council has. And we can put this on our website, which we will do tomorrow, where they're going to be trimming.
And little can be done by the property owners. Duquesne Light has full authority to trim in the right-of-way. I know most people don't think they do a great job with it, no offense to them, but private property owners have no say in it, unfortunately.
Okay, Nelson Tree Service that they've contracted with for years is the trimmer that's going to be trimming the trees. Okay, next one is ECSNR is going to be doing, we do about 3 times a year. They're going to have a hazardous electronic waste collection on Saturday, July 20th at the Public Works Garage from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we've had this before for about the last 3 years, and it is beneficial to go onto our website and register when you go there, or before you go there. Number 4, we have a Monroeville Community Day is coming up on July 27th, and Joe, there's also going to be a 5K race and walk with a dock, race Run for Your Life. And there's going to be festivities, and there's also going to be, the entertainment will be American Idol contestant Nate Walker, who is from the Pittsburgh area. So that'll be on July 27th. And on August the 17th is going to be the Monroeville Jazz Festival. And there's going to be 4 artists. If I can read them, Kinda Blue is going to be the first one, is Stilltown Horns, featuring Lindsay Smith, will be on at 4 o'clock. Benny Benack will be at 5:30, and the Pittsburgh Jazz Orchestra, featuring, don't ask me to pronounce her first name, Anna Wingfield, okay. So I think it's a pretty good lineup, so that's going to be on August the 17th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Mr. Hugus, anything this evening?
No, sir.
Ms. Rock?
Nothing.
Very good. And we'll start with our council reports. Mr. Wilson, anything for this evening?
Yes, I do, Mayor. Thank you. On Monday, we had our regular meeting of the Senior Citizens Council on May 6th. And at that meeting, we determined that 2018 attendance for March versus the 2019 attendance for March. 2018 was 7,138 attendees. In 2019, we had 8,012 attendees, which is a significant increase. Also, for April in 2018, we had 6,365 attendees, and in 2019, we had 7,608. The fitness center in 18 had 1,632 attendance, and 2019, 1,916 attendance. And for April, it was 1,582 attendance, and 2019, we had 1,856. The Silver Sneakers program, the members was 1,147 members, and the payment from the Silver Sneakers program that comes to council, it goes into our general budget, was $5,398.25, and that payment in March of 2018 was $2,856.75. And the senior council voted to add new tables to the senior citizens building. So what they approved was 5 round tables and 30 chairs at a cost of $6,483.52. And an additional 15 tables, 8 by 10 tables, and 350 folding chairs. And the total cost of the 2 combined, and this is paid by the senior council, was $25,000. Along with that, senior council has put in a new sound system for the center, which was $15,000, again paid by senior council. And of course, $5,000 for some additional furniture that was needed within in the lobby. That's what it was. And I'm just proud to announce all these because our senior center seems to be rolling along very well, and we have good members that we're able to receive revenue from, and the management team at the senior center is doing a fabulous job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Duncan.
I just have, my thoughts and prayers go out to the veterans and the soldiers that were lost on D-Day this time. I have quite a few members of my family that served, and currently I have a daughter that serves in the Air Force, and my daughter Heather. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Johns.
Yes, sir. There's a couple things going on at the convention center. The Pittsburgh Car Scenes Steel City Expo is going to be happening Sunday, June the 9th Billy Burke World Outreach will be happening June 23rd through the 25th. That's what's going on in June. There's a few things in July, but we'll get to that next month. The parade's coming right along. We're having a couple more meetings and a lot of participation. It's going to be a great fireworks show. I can't say much more to Mike Adams, but thanks for all your service. You're a great guy. Congratulations. And to all you fathers out there coming up, happy Father's Day.
That's right.
Thank you.
Done. You're welcome.
Mr. Harvey.
Yes, reiterate what Mr. Duncan and the mayor have already said about remembering those people that gave everything on the Normandy beaches. My dad landed on Omaha Beach. It was a special remembrance and learning from him, and I don't think things would be like they are today if it wasn't for those all those people that gave their lives over there that day. In the Borough News magazine, there was a proposed state legislation that would allow municipalities to regulate firearms on municipal property, such as this building, parks, and maybe even the council chambers. So you might want to give that some thought if that goes through, if you want to take action like that. The other thing is the Commonwealth and its designers have finally admitted to their numerous problems since the elimination of the registration sticker, both the law enforcement and PennDOT. So there's new legislation being proposed that one sticker would show that you have your car registered, insured, and inspected. I think they're finally getting on the right track. I wanted to compliment the organizers of the Memorial Day Parade. It was a very nice event. And last but not least, the volunteer fire departments asked me to make this announcement that they have been working on putting together a recruitment weekend on June 22nd and 23rd. Like many volunteer fire departments around the state and the country, manpower is dwindling. And I can't imagine what it would cost to make up for their services. I don't know how much they're going to, the recruitment just is a very difficult thing these days. People aren't finding time to do it. There's so much involved in it. And quite frankly, I think a lot of their service is taken for granted that they'll always be there. So anyway, if you get a chance, stop by the fire station. If you know anybody, especially younger people thinking about getting into it for a career, that would be the weekend to stop by. And they'll be having a recruitment weekend on June 22nd and 23rd.
Thank you. Mrs. Gatos.
I guess just reiterate what Mr. Harvey and Mr. Duncan all said about D-Day. Certainly they have made a change in our history for the better, and also that it was brought up by one of our residents about the women voting, 100 years. That's another really cool thing, and happy Father's Day for anyone that's not going to see us on Tuesday. And other than that, I'll just wait till Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, I will echo the same comments about the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and this country is indebted to our veterans, particularly those that land on the beaches of Normandy, and we certainly have a lot of Monroeville residents that are World War II veterans, and certainly a lot of families that were impacted by that war. And we actually even lost one of our veterans recently, Carlo Piotti, longtime resident of Monroeville, active member in the Monroeville Democratic Committee, active member in the Monroeville Senior Citizen Center, just an all-around good guy, and Carlo will definitely be missed by his friends and family. We also lost one of our neighboring police chiefs, the former Murraysville police chief, Craig Thompson, passed away. It's my understanding that over many years his department offered a lot of cooperation with the Monroeville Police Department, and after his retirement at Murraysville, he actually became a Monroeville resident. So my condolences to him, to his family as well. And lastly, I would just like to congratulate our 2019 Gateway High School graduates, and wish them the best. They unfortunately they could not celebrate outside. They got rained out twice, but they still got the graduation in, and this community is very proud of all of our graduates. And with that, I would like to seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and good night.